Hello, this is Broadcasting 103. I'm Professor Tracy Savage, and this is my lecture video. Before we get started, here is what you will be doing this week. By the end of this week, you will have watched this lecture video, which deals with performance development, and then take a short quiz. You will then read Chapter 7 from the textbook and submit your 5 bullet points for Chapter 7. You'll be assigned Exercise 11, Marking and Reading Copy. By the end of this week, you'll be required to read the provided copy directly into the Canvas Dropbox for this assignment, using the Canvas Record Media option. And finally, using that same Record Media option in the Canvas Dropbox for the announcer profile presentation, I want you to present your project live to the camera in the Canvas Dropbox, and then submit that video clip to Canvas. So here is what we will cover in this lecture video. I will begin by discussing performance development, how to develop a delivery style. Take a few notes. You're going to have a quiz right after this lecture video. I'll also discuss the importance of marking your copy to improve your delivery. And I will be assigning you Exercise 11 that's due at the end of this week. I'll explain this exercise and how to do it in this lecture video. And finally, I'll explain how to record and submit your announcer profile presentation directly to the Canvas Dropbox. All right, let's get started. Well, we know that you have 2 voices, your personal voice that you use with your friends and your professional voice that you use in performance situations. We don't care how bad your personal voice is as long as you can switch to a good professional voice. Having a pleasant speaking voice is the first step in being a professional performer. Today, we're going to take that good speaking voice and learn how to use it to develop a delivery style that's appropriate for a variety of media performance situations. The most sought-after style is a conversational tone. The ability to speak to hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of listeners or viewers, and yet make it sound as if you're talking one-to-one. It's tough, though. First, you lack direct feedback that gives you a reaction to what you're saying. And second, you're often reading a script written by someone else rather than saying your own words. Let's learn how to develop a natural performance style. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. It takes time. It's a combination of having a good voice and figuring out how to use the techniques and becoming an effective reader of copy, particularly material you haven't written. Another thing to remember is that reading copy silently is worth about 10% of reading it out loud. You need to read it out loud. Just running the words through your mind will not show you the problems, the delivery style, and the correct pronunciation that reading aloud will. And don't do it at half voice either. Get where you can project a little. Do it regularly and be critical. So, what really is a conversational style? How do you do it? Well, one thing for the new talent to keep in mind is what we'll call audience distance. That's the apparent distance to your listener, and it may seem quite large. In a television situation, many beginners feel the audience is where the cameras are, and sometimes that's quite a distance away. The perception that the audience is far away can lead to over-projection and largely eliminate the intimate sound you want in many situations. The reality is your audience's ear is located where the microphone is, and that's probably only 6 or so inches from your lips. Another factor to think about from the beginning is audience number. We use a different style when speaking to a large group than we do when speaking to 2 or 3. In the media, hopefully, you will have a large audience. However, that needs to be put aside and everyone addressed as if they were just immediate family. Some performers tape pictures of a few friends around the camera lens or just beyond the microphone in radio to remind them to whom they are speaking. One last kind of strange suggestion: extend your arm out straight and curve your fingers back towards you. In general, This represents your audience, about 4 people located about 2 feet away. So talk to your fingers. Yes, I warned you it was kind of strange. All right, let's begin looking at the techniques. For the media performers, performance elements are the tools that make them stand out and do their jobs well. You need to learn to use these tools well and know when to employ them. Probably the most important performance element is inflection.
Hello, class. Today we're going to be learning about a lot of things about public speaking. I'll be your instructor. Okay, how dreadful was that? All right, that's what I'm talking about. We need to talk about inflection or pitch or variables or whatever you want to call it. Me personally, I call it being delicious. I want you to be delicious with your voice. So you can't talk in a monotone when you deliver your speech. You've got to use the highs and lows of your voice, all right? We've got our speed set, we've got our volume set. Now sometimes something's going to be more important. Maybe you give it a little more emphasis. Maybe at some point in your speech you get really excited and you're going to use a higher pitch. Maybe at some point in your speech there is something very serious that you want to talk about. So you use the lower register of your voice. But what we're looking for is a variety of highs and lows, ups, downs, fast, slows, and maybe even loud softs. That's inflection. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you don't give every single word the same value. And what I mean by that is if I say a line, I like pizza, and then I say a line, the building's on fire, and I give them both the same value, then that means nothing. I like pizza. I love pizza. The building is on fire. Okay, those are 2 totally different things. And I need to inflect them accordingly so that you, the listener, you, the audience, know how I feel about it. Inflection.
Inflection gives life to copy and makes it understandable. Inflection deals with pitch, the range of high, middle, and low notes that are most evident when we listen to a singer. Everyone uses pitch variations in their conversations, but when presented with some copy to read, many beginners speak in a monotone, and that's not good. It's about as dull a sound as you can get. I will tell you now, there are very few sentences that should be delivered without inflection. Virtually every one needs some. Besides making the sound more interesting, which is very important for a broadcast, inflection helps us to make certain words stand out in the message. It is one of the ways we give a word or phrase emphasis in a message. Inflecting upward causes the audience to be more aware of the important words in our message. Another way to generate emphasis is with loudness. By pushing more energy into a certain word, it stands out in the copy, but don't overuse it. We've all heard commercials where the announcer seems to think every word in a commercial message is critical. Most sentences of average length will only have 2 or 3 key words that deserve to be emphasized. 2 words, and the, are rarely ever the ones to be emphasized, so be alert to that potential problem.
Hello, it's Peter Baker here from VoiceOverMasterclass.com. I've been in the voiceover business for a very long time, since the early 70s, and one question that comes up again and again is, how does one improve one's voice? Now, the word improve, what does that mean? Usually when people say, how could I improve my voice, they want to sound more like an announcer with lots of resonance, and resonance or depth in voice is a very good aspirational thing to get. Basically, a resonant, deep voice gives assured authority. It gives you the sound of someone that you want to listen to. It makes it easier to listen to as well. So resonance is a good thing for men and for women, by the way. And people who have maybe a thin voice want to know how to make it a little bit deeper. Well, it's kind of difficult on a video where I can't hear your voice at the moment to give you any specific tips as to what to do with your own voice. I can give you some general tips, but really you need to see a speech therapist or someone who can help with drama, who can listen to your voice. Maybe there's something physical, if not psychological, in your makeup, or some little things that you say in the way that you say them, or the way that you use your voice. But let's first of all talk about a music shop. You go to a music shop and you ask for a new string for your guitar. You get it in a little bag and you take it out and you pluck it. It doesn't sound anything like it is on the guitar. You suddenly put it on your acoustic guitar and it sounds like a guitar. It's the same basically with the human body. You have vocal cords. They vibrate. My vocal cords are vibrating now, but I sound like me because those vocal cords are basically reverberating throughout the cavities I have in my body. Every body is different, and usually, though not always, usually the larger the body, the larger the sound, the more depth you get, the more resonance you get, the more assured authority you get. But as I say, it's not always. And if you notice when you wake up in the morning, you're a little bit groggy, a little bit tired, your voice is always deeper for some reason. It's because you're relaxed. The problem I find with people who start off with voiceovers, they're so worried about how their voice is going to sound, what the producer is saying the other side of the glass, or, you know, it's the tension basically, because you're behind that microphone. And that tension then tightens up all the muscles and all the places you don't want them to tighten up. And suddenly your voice becomes a little bit thin, a little bit forced like that. You simply cannot physically get lower than that note because you're tensed up all the time. Now imagine you are woken up in the morning. Morning, dear, how are you? Like some breakfast? You're naturally deep. In a romantic candlelit dinner with your partner, it's having a nice meal. You know, you're relaxed and suddenly you come out all sounding deep. So the first thing is relax as much as you possibly can. Relax, force yourself to relax. Understand in your body what muscles it is that do tense up. In fact, do an experiment now. Just pretend you're on stage, loads of people are looking at you, you're absolutely terrified at your wits. Just put yourself in that mode. Just think about what tenses up. Normally your shoulders go up a bit, you're normally staring ahead, your head doesn't want to move from side to side. Now just think of those muscles, just identify them. Let your brain identify the muscles that affect your voice there. And I'm not a doctor, I can't tell you the name of the muscles. They're the ones at the back of the throat and ones that should be relaxed. Now you've identified them, try to relax them. And we do this by humming exercises. Humming exercises are absolutely brilliant, generally for relaxing one and also for helping to get your voice deeper. And this is a good general exercise for everyone to do. And it's an easy one to do as well because you can low hum on a long car journey, on your way to work, wherever. Maybe not do it on a bus because people next to you might think you're a bit crazy. But if you're on your own, certainly in a car, do some low humming. And I mean really low humming. And you can test how low you're going by putting your hand on top of your chest. So I don't touch my microphone. You put your hand there and go as low as you can. Like, lower, lower, Find the lowest note you can do without it breaking up. For me, it's I don't know if the microphone can pick that up, but my hand is picking up vibrations. That's what you want. You want those vibrations. Now, the next thing to do, once you've found the lowest note you can possibly hum, sorry I hit the microphone, is basically to open up those muscles dramatically, the ones that you have identified, the ones that are causing you to tense up and not get below your current low note. And it's the same muscle that you use when you're throwing up after a party. Right? When you do that, would you do that for me, please? That is the muscle that you need to relax. And it's right there in your throat system. I say I'm not a doctor. If you're a doctor, you're probably laughing at this right now. But it's that one. So I am now going to relax that muscle, and you'll see how lower I can get. So this is my low note at the moment. Now I'm going to open up that muscle, and you'll hear it sound much more mellow and deep. And because I can't speak and hum at the same time, my hand is up when it's tense. When I relax that muscle, it's down. Just listen to the change, okay? Subtle, I hope you got that on your computer speakers, but it basically is a mellower sound. Now, when you start speaking in that mode, suddenly you become more like the announcer maybe you wish to be. Now, some of you are now thinking, well, we don't all want to be announcers. Don't I see audition scripts that says no announcer? That's absolutely right, and you've got to learn how to switch yourself out of that. Quite often, in fact, earlier today I was doing some scripts for a museum in Belgium. I had to be various historical characters that people pick up on their headphones, you know. You get things like that. You get acting jobs where you don't want to be an announcer. You don't want to be a narrator. You have to be a real person. And there, quite often, my voice is too deep for that. And sometimes I don't get the jobs, you know. So deep isn't always good. But if you want to go deep, humming, that low humming where you go, right? You do that basically. And when you do that in that mode, relax that muscle when you're speaking, you go from this voice into this voice because you're really relaxed. You've now loosened the muscle at the back of your throat and you're talking nice and relaxed. And it's amazing how low you can get. And to get lower, you continue doing these humming exercises. Basically, you do your low hum as much as you can. I'd say 10 minutes a day. After a week or 2 weeks, certainly you will know a difference. Suddenly, whoa, I didn't know I could get as low as that. And that, with your relaxation, really helps a lot. So humming exercises, really, really good news. As much as you can. Now, there are other resonance exercises, but they would need to be specific to your voice. That's why you need to see an expert face-to-face. But there's no point having that wonderful resonance if you haven't got the clarity. And so I always say QEQR is the best exercise you can possibly do. I talk about this in the full voiceover masterclass of lessons. And basically you say the letter Q, then E, then Q, then R. You'll notice this stretches the mouth from a tiny little Q to E, which is like a letterbox shape, like that. Q again, then R, which is really open. Now, we don't open our mouths enough when we talk in the Western world, you know, and it really helps you as a voiceover, particularly because they can't see you, to get that diction correct. So you can speak as much as you like. However, you should not over-enunciate like that because that sounds ridiculous. But just doing Q, E, Q, R, please try it for me now. Q, E, Q, R. Q, E, Q, R. Gives our muscles a workout. You sent your mouth to the gym, and it comes back a happier mouth.
Volume or loudness is another tool you have available. Here again, the key is to vary it. Some passages can be delivered in a slightly softer voice, whereas others should stand out by turning up the volume a little. Variety is so much the key to good delivery that you want to use every avenue you have. Another versatile tool is the pause. You can create emphasis by pausing before or after an important word. Pauses have other applications as well. They break up copy and help create interest, as well as give the audience a moment to absorb what you've said. Just don't get in the habit of pausing in a predictable pattern that creates a choppy sound that quickly becomes uninteresting and unprofessional. Pauses have another important role in reading copy. They provide a chance for you to get a little breath. You don't want to go on so long that you fade as you run out of air, and the audience hears a big gasp when you finally reach a point where you can stop. The space between sentences is an obvious place to breathe, as are the pauses at some commas. If the sentence is long, find a place where you can add a pause to get some air without affecting the meaning. Rate variation is also very important. We don't deliver copy in a steady flow of words like water from a faucet. Rather, to add interest and clarity, we vary the rate, reading some phrases faster than others, slowing the pace down can add emphasis, whereas speeding up tends to make a phrase more secondary.
So hey guys, it's Gerald Porschman here, the presentation coach, and once again, thank you and welcome back. Now, one possible way to demand attention of your audience is to speed up your rate of speech. Now, certainly there is no need to speak slowly enough for people to understand and assimilate your message. There are situations where the only way to create the right mood for your content of your message is to speak slowly and methodically, especially if you are speaking to an audience for which English is a second language. Now, slow speaking with a lot of pauses, however, can create lethargy among your audience members, making them passive and indifferent to your message. Did you know that people can think about 4 times faster than a person can talk? So the listener has the capacity to assimilate information without loss of comprehension when the speaker speeds up the rate. Now, in contrast, if the presenter speaks slowly, they can lose the audience's concentration. Listeners will use the extra thinking time to let their thoughts wander, and they may not return. Now, psychologists have found that a speaker who delivers at a rate of approximately 190 words per minute are more likely to be seen as credible, objective, and knowledgeable as compared to slow speakers. And we can see this especially when attending an auction. Now, if the auctioneer's chant is too slow, the audience member may lose interest in the item being sold and thus loses the urge to bid. So part of the persuasive aspect of the auction is the auctioneer's rapid chant that accelerates the bidding process and motivates the audience member to bid more quickly. Especially in persuasive speaking, the same is true. Now, if you are in a spot in your speech where you are moving the audience to action or are seeking to get a strong emotional assent of your content, speed up your rate of speech for positive results. You see, radio and television commercials usually have people speak at an accelerated pace as they extol the value of a particular product. Now, when we speak to each other about something that is important to us, we show our excitement and concern by speaking rapidly. So just because you're delivering a message to a large group doesn't mean that you should slow down to make sure everyone understands. Audiences can handle the fast talker from the stage. So next time you get up to speak, incorporate a rapid rate of speech to make your speaking more effective.
Phrasing is the process of grouping words that form an idea and then delivering that group smoothly together. Here's what I mean. Look at the copy on the screen. When you read this copy, you want to group the underlined words together and pick up the speed a little bit in those sections. I'll give it a try. Police are today hunting the owner of a 5-foot python found in a garden shed. Paul Smith of Rochdale was tidying his tools when he realized he was being watched by a large snake. "I thought it was sizing me up for dinner," said Mr. Smith. An animal handler from the local zoo was called in to catch the python. Watch out for any tendency to repeat a pattern, as they will tend to carry you along toward a sing-song sound. Mood is another vocal tool that is often overlooked. Mood is a factor in commercials as well as news stories. Obvious, but you want a serious mood in reporting on a disaster or concern for a missing child, and happiness when reporting a pleasant weather forecast, elation when reading a commercial about a great sale, and humor when telling of some harmless mistake or incident. Any copy needs to be examined for mood prior to delivery, remembering that mood shifts may be buried in the text itself. Well, you have to have energy. One of the most valuable tools you have available is energy. Some beginners find it difficult to get enough push in their delivery to sound alive. The first step is to become aware that you're holding back by critiquing recordings of your delivery. How much energy should you use? Well, it depends. Consider the message, the audience, and the circumstances. A commercial for a big carpet sale may call for nearly shouting, whereas a news story of an accident will take much less vocal energy. One of the benefits of doing radio is that you can use your body to help you get to the right level. Work standing up, gesture, make faces, punch the air if it helps you sound alive. On television, you don't have quite as much flexibility, but facial expressions, gestures, and nods of the head will make you look and sound more alive and effective. Now, the first step when working with a script is to read it out loud as you practice. Focus on finding the words that carry the meaning of the message so that you will emphasize those key words during the performance of the script. The key words alone usually carry a concise summary of the message of the script. For example, look at this last sentence here on the screen. The huge end of the month sale begins this Saturday morning at Anderson's. So it's not crucial to know that the sale is huge or that it's an end of the month sale or that it begins in the morning, even if that's nice to know. What is key is that there is a sale Saturday at Anderson's. Read the copy aloud several times, trying the emphasis on different words to see which are most effective. So marking your copy is really a good thing to get in the habit of doing. Marking copy means using a system of graphic symbols to indicate how you feel the script should be read, adding supplementary punctuation to the script. The mark should assist you in reading the copy and should not become a distraction that might cause errors in your reading. At first, copy marking will seem a tedious task that takes too much time, but you will eventually find that it becomes second nature and it'll help you become a better performer. Here is a very simple way to mark copy. I will include this page in a file in this module where you can review it, and you're going to use it for exercise 11, which is marking and reading copy. Create your own shorthand, whatever works for you. Do you need to take a breath somewhere? Put a B or maybe even an O for an open mouth sign. Remember when we discussed groupings of words? Use the hyphen symbol to indicate that several words are linked into one common idea. Book of the month, jack of all trades. They're easier to read if you see that the group of words represents one idea, so put hyphens between those words. The hyphen is a handy device to help smooth out broadcast copy. It's worth going through a period of script marking if you're trying to correct something about your delivery. It'll help remind you of your particular fault and how to remedy it. Correct pronunciation and usage of words are absolutely necessary for the broadcast performer, but there are several other categories of words to which talent should be especially sensitive. Jargon and slang are similar types of words, and that both encompass a private vocabulary that has made its way into common usage. Jargon is specialized language or words used by a specific profession. For example, in broadcasting, we call a clip with video and then a soundbite a VOSOT, V-O-S-O-T, a VOSOT. Slang is an informal street language or words used by a specific social group. Savage. Yeah, that's a term that's gotten kind of popular lately. Now remember, sometimes jargon or slang may only be understood by a small segment of the audience. You want to clarify the meaning of words or expressions that may be unfamiliar to the general listener or viewer, or just simply avoid using them. Some expressions that started out as slang terms have been used so much and for so long that they've become cliches. A cliche is defined as an overused or worn-out expression. It's likely you might know some of these cliches because they're so overused. For example, complete the following phrases: dry as a bone, neat as a pin, quick as a wink, preaching to the choir, and sharp as a tack. You should have been able to complete some of these pretty easily. An announcer or performer doesn't need to completely avoid cliches because on the positive side they do convey a common idea with a minimum of words. But remember that they became cliches because they were used too often. A redundant expression is one that uses more words than necessary to convey an idea. In other words, redundancies are needlessly repetitive. This is one group of expressions that media performers should try to avoid. They just waste time. For example, a true fact Abundant wealth. Well, that's redundant because wealth means affluence, opulence, and abundance. Visible to the eye. Well, what's it else is it going to be visible to the ear? And a few more redundant expressions include free gift, armed gunmen, green in color, unexpected surprise, and filled to capacity. Yeah, that's all redundancies, and you want to avoid them. Another speech blunder is solecism. This is a word or phrase that is not grammatically acceptable. The best example is the use of the word ain't, as in, I ain't going to school today. Other solecisms include between you and I instead of between you and me, and they was instead of they were. You just have to have proper grammar for credibility. A final speech mistake that plagues media performers from time to time is the spoonerism. Spoonerisms occur when certain syllables of words are transposed. It usually ends up kind of funny. The term spoonerism comes from the name of Reverend William Spooner, who lived in England in the second half of the 19th century. He switched syllables constantly, particularly when he was upset. He is supposed to have reprimanded a student by saying, "You've tasted 2 worms," when he meant to say, "You've wasted 2 terms." It usually happens unconsciously and happens to many in broadcasting. Another example, PGA announcer stating, "And now Johnny T is on the pot." Johnny Pot is on the tee. A befuddled newscaster once announced, "This is your 11 o'clock newscaster bringing you an on-the-pot report. On-the-spot retort. On-the-tot resort." Oh well, let's just skip that. Vocal performers need to be aware that language they use changes on a regular basis. New words are added to various dictionaries every year. Since the turn of the century, so for the last 20 years, we've added some words. Tree hugger, hottie, road rage, metrosexual, blogosphere, nanobot, subprime, and more recently you can add staycation, buzzkill, frenemy, carbon credit, and of course, tweet. Beginning talent often hesitates slightly before reading or saying a difficult word. This merely calls attention to the fact that they're uncomfortable with the pronunciation of that word. The polished announcer is able to keep his or her word flow constant, whether a phrase contains difficult words or not. Beginners often also add needless vocalizations such as and you know and to their speech. A common error for beginners, and one that makes their inexperience really stand out, is letting their voice trail off at the last word or two of a sentence. The pattern, called a throwaway, makes those words sound unimportant and sometimes unintelligible. Remember, in ads or news, the last words may be very essential to the story, or may be vital to the punchline of the kicker. Students find that this is not an easy habit to conquer, even though it seems simple. So here's a tip. Put emphasis marks under the last words in the script to be certain that they do not get lost. Otherwise, your status as a beginner will be very evident. Beginners often read or speak with indistinct speech. That is, they mumble or slur words and phrases. This is a problem of weak enunciation. If the listener can't understand you, it's going to be tough. Other illustrative problems of beginning announcers include improper rate of speech, either too slow or excessively fast, misplaced emphasis, either pausing when they shouldn't or stressing words that shouldn't be stressed, and a dead delivery, one that lacks vitality or enthusiasm. If your performance approach includes any of these characteristics, you have to work to eliminate them now. What is rapport? Audience rapport. It's a very non-specific concept. It's the ability to make an important connection with an audience. In part, it has to do with knowing your audience. You need to be knowledgeable. Broadcasters have to be knowledgeable regardless of the subject. Trying to fake it won't succeed very long. To build a connection with the audience, Work at being current on your information and admit it if you don't know something. If the audience is younger, you'll probably need to be seen as a hip or cool and aware of the latest trends. Being community spirited will also add to your appeal. Supporting charity events, finding new homes for pets, and advocating for causes will make you more attractive. And being approachable, within reason, signing autographs and chatting with people in public will add to your standing. To summarize, you need to come across as an interesting person that your audience would like to know better. When discussing what it takes to be a successful broadcaster and to build audience rapport, there's no word more important than integrity. It means that you're trusted and what you say is believed. When your integrity is well established, it serves as a shield to protect you when there are lapses. The audience also needs to see you as a friend. That comes through in the way you talk, the way you greet people, and the way you conduct yourself in public. These are internal characteristics that can't really be taught, but you should be aware that before an audience will build an emotional bond with a performer, they must find that performer personally appealing. If they don't, it'll be hard to establish any rapport with the viewer or listener. So here we go. A media performer needs to use the English language correctly, use words and expressions freely and creatively, and be sensitive to potentially offensive phrases. An intimate conversational style is preferred in most performance situations, and marking the copy can help the announcer stress keywords and concepts in the script. Very few of us are naturally polished performers, but almost all of us can improve our announcing style. None of this comes without some effort by the performer, and practice will be one of the keys of becoming a successful broadcast talent. All right, as soon as you're done watching this lecture video, you're going to take a short quiz on the material that I've just covered. Before I wrap up this video, a couple of quick things. I'm assigning you now to record your announcer profile presentation, in addition to submitting your completed PowerPoint project where you have researched a famous announcer and answered the questions in the exercise instructions. I want you to record your presentation. You'll be using the Record Media option in the Canvas Dropbox. There is a video and PDF file with details on how to record video directly into the Canvas Dropbox provided for you at the top of this module. Go back and check it out. My suggestion is to open up your PowerPoint on one half of your computer screen and then open up Canvas on the other half. It's okay if you're not looking directly into the screen. You can look back and forth from your PowerPoint and then right into the camera lens as you're talking to your make-believe audience. And finally this week, I'm assigning you Exercise 11. It's called Mark and Read Copy. I've provided for you further down in this module a copy you can download and print out for use for this exercise, and complete step-by-step instructions are included also. I want you to use the Record Media option in the Canvas Dropbox for this exercise. Basically, there are 4 steps. You're going to read the copy I've provided and record the copy into Canvas without marking the script. Then go back and mark the script, mark the copy, and then read and record your presentation again, this time using the marked script. Check out both recordings and see if you can see and hear the difference. Well, that's the end of this lecture video. You will now continue working your way through this module. Now, don't forget, submit any questions to our class discussion board, or you can text me directly at 818-581-5432. You must complete all of the assignments that are due this week by the end of this week, Sunday at 11:59.